Testing 1, 2, 3, testing.
This is Trash Panda Publishing. Thank you for joining our podcast, where raccoons talk about books and publishing, and of course, anything related to raccoons.
Welcome. I'm your host, David James. Everyone calls me DJ. I am back after, I don't know, it seems like weeks of not recording, and I want to thank Lulu and Mercy for, on their own, jumping in and recording an episode while I was gone. I didn't ask them to do it, but I'm so glad that they did. You can check it out. I think it was episode 24 called Lulu Takes Over. We actually tried to record last night. We did. We recorded for an hour and 15 minutes, and it was really good. And then I discovered that I had recorded as the, what you call producer, which means, yes, they could hear me, but what I was saying was not recorded. They did a marvelous job, but if we produced that, it would be these weird blocks of utter silence because what I said wasn't being captured. So could I go back over and do punch-ins? Yes, but it would sound terrible, so we're not going to do that. So instead, I'm just going to re-record today, like the news and stuff. They had news of their own. We'll capture that again later this week. So, what was the news that I had recorded last night? Well, first of all, the PAX EAST update. It went incredibly well. I think there are like 5 big takeaways I wanted to share here. First of all, if you're an author and you have never done like sort of what I would call an in-person expedition, that's a car. If you've never exhibited your book, not exhibited yourself, that's something completely different. And that's not what this podcast's about. You can go find something a little bit more spicy if that's your cup of tea. No, we're talking about exhibiting your book, getting a table, and at a minimum, you sitting at the table with your book and hopefully getting people to buy it, and then you sign autographs. Or just give it away and sign autographs. In either event, it's you, the book, and a table. I did that along with coffee cups and bookmarks and pens and stickers and pins, the kind of pins you would pin to your shirt, lapel pins, that kind of thing. Evidently, that's very big in the book world, collector pins, so I had those made. Also, blankets, T-shirts, sweatshirts, the standard swag thing. I had a background made that was 10 by 10 that was basically the book cover minus a Scala, but we had a Scala made as a 5-foot cardboard cutout. I thought it was amazing. It was done by Flatheads. They were very popular in the 90s. People used to put them on their bedroom walls of like Michael Jordan dunking on people, things like that. Well, I had a Scala made as a Flathead. She's actually in my office right now at, not my home office. My wife said that could never be displayed in our house ever again. No, she didn't say that. It just doesn't match our decor, but it's perfect for my office. So that's what I did. I would say, so the PAX East went from, it was 4 days, basically, to call it 14 to 15-hour days. I don't know the total number of people that went to PAX East. It ranges on the high end. I think the most they ever had at 1 year was 100,000. I think their lowest they've ever had was around, 55,000, somewhere in there. So my guess, it's somewhere between 50 and 100,000. For my booth, we didn't like track with a clicker or anything, but I'm going to guess, based off of the fact that I sold / gave away as prizes all 350 books, so that was a huge win. We also got rid of / sold every single T-shirt, sweatshirt, coffee cup, all of that stuff. I did bring back some pins, which I still have some of those, so I didn't sell all of those. And from a giveaway perspective, I started with 10,000 pens, ink pens that you would write with. I gave away probably 2,000 pens, maybe more, maybe as many as 3,000, because the box is about, I don't know, probably half full. Maybe I gave 5,000 away. It's a lot of pens that we gave away. So that was a lot of what I would call interactions. We measured them in what we would call quality interactions, meaning somebody could walk by the booth and just grab a pen and leave. That happens. I do it at conferences too. Those aren't quality interactions. A quality interaction is where someone stops and says, what is going on at this booth? And engages in a discussion about, in this case, the book. What is the book about? They ask questions. Perhaps they become interested or, in my world, curious. And maybe they buy one. Or perhaps they don't buy it, but they're like, hey, is it on Kindle Unlimited? Oh, it is? And better yet, they pull out their phone and right in front of me and put it into their Kindle library. That actually did happen. I watched people do that. Other times, people said they signed up for the mailing list. That was one of the big goals, was to get email addresses. I got over 250 email addresses that I know of. At least what I mean by that is we had a fishbowl with little cards, and we did a drawing every day. If people wanted to be in the drawing, they would basically fill out a card with their email address and drop it in there. We gave prizes away every morning. So we had that. So that was a huge success to interact with fans. The second big highlight was amongst those conversations, there were at least 3 teachers, two middle school teachers and a high school teacher that came by. They were there, as guests because they love games and stuff. And when they found out that the book was based off a D&D character, and at least for the middle school teachers, found out that the book was Mom's Choice Award. They were very excited about it and asked if I would be willing to give a copy to the school library. Instantly, I said yes. So there are 3 schools that have this book now in the school library. Well, if these teachers did what they said they were going to do. So I had great conversations with them about that. One of those teachers, I believe it was the middle school teacher, runs a D&D after-school club at the middle school. I want to say that teacher I think it was a math teacher. He said that I think he had like 7 students that play D&D, and I said, well, here, take a whole case of these books. I gave him a case of paperbacks, and he was giving them to the students. And to me, that was so exciting. It's exciting to me to be able to just know that there are kids, middle schoolers, who love fantasy, love D&D, and perhaps are going to read A Scholar's Wish. That was very exciting. There also was an adult D&D group from Michigan. These were people who were, professionals that were, probably in their upper 30s. Definitely PAX East attendee veterans. They told me that there were as many as 20 people in this group. Now, not 20 people at the D&D table. That would be too many, but the group is a group of friends, basically. They actually bought 2 cases of these books and had them shipped back to their to Michigan, where they were from. This, by the way, PAX East is in Boston. And they were going to do A Scholar's Wish as a book club together as a group. And I was so excited about that. They were so pumped. These were like hardcore D&D players. And when they found out it was a character, they couldn't stop talking about it, because evidently many of them have talked about doing the same thing with their characters, about how some of them have interesting backstories, and they thought that their characters would make great books. So I talked to them about how to do it. How did I do it? So that was exciting. There was also on Saturday a number of children that came by. When I say children, I mean middle schoolers and a few elementary schoolers. Yeah, there were certainly boys, because it's very much a video game conference and very much things that boys would be into. Not as much for girls is the stereotypical girl thing. Like if you're into ponies and princesses, not not a lot of that. If you're a girl who likes shoot 'em up video games and sort of non-traditional role-playing games or board games, more indie type games, then this is a great place for you. But there were a lot of dads there on Saturday, and families that had with their daughters. And I could see this must have been Dad's visitation weekend. So he took his daughter to this thing. And they were dressed up. Some of them were dressed up like Sleeping Beauty or princesses or in costumes. And when they came to this booth, the little girl's eyes would light up, because it's fairies and castle backgrounds. It's very Disney-like. And I had such fun giving stuff away to these little girls in particular, because their eyes were just in love with Escala. She's Disney-like, at least the coffee cups and the T-shirts that I had, the little notebooks. And the dads were so, happy that their daughter was having a good time at my booth, because I didn't get the sense that some of the other booths had much content for children of that age. So that was nice. There was also I would call them 20-year-old, 22-year-old college couple. They were dressed like Zelda and Link from Legend of Zelda from Nintendo. Full costumes, amazing, including the wigs and everything. They were I wish I had taken a picture. They were great. He had come to many PAX conferences, and she, on the other hand, this was her first. So she, just like the little girls, was like just enamored by the art of my characters, which are very cute and Disney-like, etc. So I had helpers with me. They're talking to her about the story, and I told them, hook her up, give her all kinds of free stuff, because I wanted her experience at the conference to be fun. Now I'm talking to the guy, and I said, did you have to convince her to come to this thing? He's like, oh my goodness, yes. She didn't want to come. She only came because, she knew it would make me happy. And I've been talking this thing up for months, really. And honestly, he goes, most of the booths are boring to her because they're, as I said earlier, shoot 'em up video games. It's not really her cup of tea. She doesn't play Magic the Gathering. She's not a D&D player. But your booth, she loves this stuff, like princesses and frogs and, things like cutesy things. And she was having the absolute best time. So we brought her into the booth and did a photo op with them because the background is like this like magical castle and they're dressed like Zelda and Link. So they got their phones out and were doing TikTok videos of the two of them posing and hugging and kissing, very much in love. And they were tagging my company, which was kind of nice. That was nice to give her sort of what I would call a very nice, memorable first PAX. The last story I'll tell in this, and this was to me the most exciting. There was a woman came by. She was in her mid 40s. She was very maybe 4'5", very very short, Asian, very big glasses. She looked very studious. She had two friends with her, well, roughly the same age, who were gothed out, if you will, not leather goth, but just like black lace gothed. And they were, they had bags of stuff they had bought, toy games and everything. She comes to the booth, and we had decided, my helpers and I had decided that we would give things away at like 3 o'clock. Whoever comes by and has a meaningful conversation at 3 o'clock will win a special prize. Well, we had determined that was what was going to happen at 3, and at 3 o'clock, it happened to be her. She came by, and she had engaged in a meaningful conversation, and we awarded her a prize, which happened to be a blanket. And I said, well, which blanket would you like? And she picked Sticky, which is the frog. And she was just like blown away. Why would you give this blanket away free? And I said, well, it's because we've been running these little contests. And she says, well, tell me about your story. So I told her the plot of A Scala's Wish. And she says, you've got a lot of art here. You've got characters. You've got swag. Like, you did all this yourself? And I said, well, generally, yes. She says, and you self-published? I said, I did. She goes, well, what is Trash Panda Publishing? I go, well, it's a publishing company I created. And I said, I have a writing coach that basically said, you're going to have to self-publish because Simon & Schuster and Random House and a few other publishing companies that I had sent my stuff to, or a query letter to, didn't even reply. Like, I didn't even get a rejection letter. I told this to her. And so my writing coach had said, well, just make a publishing company so you look bigger than you actually are. She laughed. And then she says, well, you're working on a second book? I said, yes, I am. It's called Mad as a Hornet. So she goes, tell me about that. So I did. She goes, is this a trilogy? I said, it is going to be a trilogy, although I don't know what book number 3 is called yet. She says to me, well, how long has the book been out? I told her. She says, do you have an audiobook? I said, I do. We talked about that. She says, well, how many reviews do you have? And so I had an iPad there, so I pulled it up and showed her. It's like, at that time, I think I had 150 reviews, almost all positive. And I said, I've even won some awards. So I pulled up on my website and showed her the awards that I won. And she says, what you're doing here is amazing for an independent author. And then she says, this is the part where later I actually cried, but I didn't cry in front of her right here. She says, I work for Simon & Schuster. And she says, first of all, I want to apologize to you that we did not send you a rejection letter. I guess kind of a funny apology. We're sorry we didn't say no. She says, I just got promoted, so don't get your hopes up here. I'm not any sort of bigwig or anything. And she goes, I'm actually here just as a person. Like, I'm here for fun. I'm not here on like official business or anything. But she says, we do look for independent authors doing exactly what you're doing, who have a brand, are catching some success, and if we came to terms, we would take over, meaning we would become your publisher, and we would bring you into stores and push you the way we would push a signed, a regular project that we would have taken from minute one. And I said, I didn't think you guys did that. And she goes, we didn't used to. You used to have to come to the front door with an agent. And she goes, we still do that. But she says there's so many independent authors doing their thing and going viral. Dungeon Crawler Carl is a great example of that. And she's like, we don't want to miss those. And we have to be out at these kind of conventions and book conventions to find independent authors that are about to go exploding viral. So she took my book. Well, I gave her a collector's edition. And she says, I cannot guarantee that you'll ever hear from us again. Or you might. But she says, I'm so glad that I came by here today. Thank you so much for telling me what you're doing. And I looked her up on LinkedIn. So we friended on LinkedIn. She actually does work at Simon & Schuster. She wasn't just blowing smoke. And she was correct. She just got promoted. So she's like not entry level, but she's low on the polls. She is, as she said, she's not senior. And it doesn't matter if I never hear from her again or not. That conversation was like the highlight of the conference for me, because it just, to be able to share like why I ended up self-publishing and what I'm doing with someone who works for the biggest publishing company in the world, and have her validate that everything I'm doing as a self-publishing person is spot on, really good, and in her opinion, further along than most independent authors, was really cool. So that's my PAX East report. I'm going to go back next year if I finish Mad as a Hornet in time. I already signed the contract yesterday, so that will happen. I have to finish the book, of course. All right. I am puppets. I've ordered puppets for Crimson, Ava, and Miss Cassidy Vance. More to come. When I actually get the puppets, I'll put them up on Facebook so people can take a look at them. I intend to do puppet videos on YouTube and TikTok. I guess YouTube and Instagram are my two platforms that I use. So there'll be improv / in character videos, like think Sesame Street and the Muppets, that kind of thing. Also, I did get a 1-star review 2 weeks ago that really just fired me up, made me mad, depressed, angry. It came from a person who I believe is in a Facebook group that I think violated trust. In the Facebook group I had shared, the conversation was about continuity within books. So, for example, if I wrote in a book that a character was wearing a blue sweater, and then three paragraphs later I write that the sweater is orange, that would be considered a continuity problem. Now, you can have ones that are way worse than that, but that would be a continuity problem. And in this discussion in the writers group, I shared that I had discovered in my own book 2 continuity problems of that level. Nothing serious, nothing related to the plot itself, but factual things like the color of a dress or something like that. Anyways, this review that I got had 3 criticisms. One that was like that to me, there's no way a casual reader would have discovered what was shared. So to me, I think it was somebody in that Facebook group that was violating trust, and that bothers me. But the other comment is they observed, which I thought incorrectly, that chapters 9 and 10, they said were word for word the same. And I'm like, there's no way. That they're not even the same scenes. 9 is a scene between Rowan and Janelle, which are 2 characters in the book. They're talking about Ascala's problem. Chapter 10 is a flashback scene between Rowan and Ascala's mom. It's not even related to chapter 9. So when I read that, I'm like, I had to go pull the paper back. No, that's incorrect. I looked at the hard copy book. That's not correct. I had just listened to the Audible book, so I knew that wasn't correct. I looked at my version of the Kindle, and that wasn't correct. But just 2 days ago, I was updating the Kindle version because I'd found a typo's not the right word, but sometimes I want to fix formatting or take a run-on sentence and break it into 2, things like that. Or occasionally I will find a typo and I'll fix it. Well, the version of the Kindle right now, unbelievably, does have chapter 9 and 10 are word for word the same. So this person actually was right. Not every version, but the one right now on Kindle is like that. I was horrified. But the comment in the review also said, well, because chapter 9 and 10 are the same word for word, it proves that my book was written by AI, which is absolutely ridiculous. What that proves is I made a mistake when I was converting the book to Kindle format. And it wasn't even conversion. I was making the edit in a software called Vellum. And because I've got 3 versions, paperback, hardback, and Vellum, I have to make the edits manually. And it was a cutting and pasting error. That's all that it was. It had nothing to do with AI. But for days, I was incensed. I'm still incensed that someone would violate my trust about the continuity issue. Like, that just bothers me. But they're not wrong about chapters 9 and 10 being word for word, which I have fixed right now. And I'm waiting for Amazon to approve the new Kindle version to get posted. And then you can ask Amazon to what's called proactively push the Kindle patch to everybody. You can't do that very often, from what I understand. Kindle gets pissed if you ask them to do that. But I will be doing that. And I already messaged them yesterday. They said, in light of what has happened, meaning you got 2 chapters that are the same, they will do that. But right now, it's going through a quality review. Once it comes out of that, then Amazon will proactively push. So if you're listening to this and you've got the Kindle version, wait a day or 2 and then just delete it off your Kindle and re-download it. You'll get the fresh copy. Or probably a couple days after that, Amazon will automatically update it, whether you like it or not. If you have a hard copy or a paperback, you're fine. The Audible, of course, is fine. But so what I did on Goodreads is I actually replied publicly, or you can go read it yourself if you want. I thanked the person for pointing out the error and explained a short version of what I just said here, which is that it was a conversion issue. I did not defend anything about AI, as much as I know that's not AI. I didn't want to fight with him about that because it's not worth it. Plus, I got in trouble with Goodreads before for doing that. But I just share it with you because getting negative reviews hits me hard because I'm a words of affirmation person. And I only have 2 negative reviews out of 150. So it's hard for me to deal with this. And I know other people are like, shut up, DJ. You only have 2 negative reviews out of 150. You are lucky. And I guess I am, because I know other books have more negative reviews. But I just want to share that with you. Let's go on to, reviews. So at one point I had 175 reviews on Amazon. And then over the course of between February and I guess 2 weeks ago, I'm using air quotes here, I lost 20 reviews. What happened to them? Now, Amazon will remove a review if, number 1, your mom wrote it. My mom, by the way, did not write a review. And when I just say mom, it's really any family member. If they can determine that a family member wrote review, it will get removed. They also supposedly, if a review came from the same IP address as your IP address, they'll remove it, meaning you created another account in your own house and that's called a review padding, and just start reviewing your own book, that will get removed and probably get yourself banned. I didn't do that, by the way. Also, if you buy reviews, that will get you the reviews removed and likely get your book removed if you get caught doing that. Also, I've been told, when I say told, I mean read online, that Amazon is now policing for reviews that are written by bots or AI. If you're a reviewer and you go to ChatGPT and say, write a review for me, Amazon supposedly will boot those reviews because they don't look real. And I thought, well, maybe people were lazy and had used AI to write reviews. I don't know why anyone would do that, but I thought maybe that had happened. The other reason that you could lose a review would be if the person who's writing the review got their account suspended for some reason with Amazon. And that can happen. For example, if you're a seller, I used to sell used things on Amazon when it was easier to do. If you got your account suspended for some other reason, has nothing to do with reviewing, anything that you had done with that account would be removed, like reviews. If you delete your account from Amazon, any review that you've written would be removed. And it just strikes me as like weird that many people would have their accounts removed within a short period of time. So I discovered a couple days ago, I was just Googling my book to see, what kind of reviews I get. Because I do find that people review this book all over the internet, and people I've never heard of before. And when I say review, I'm not talking about Amazon. I'm talking about on blogs and stuff. And I found a link to Amazon India, like the Amazon, not Amazon.com, but Amazon.idin, I think, is the India version. And I didn't realize that Amazon had different domain names for their different country versions. And there was a review on that particular version of Amazon for A Scholar's Wish. I clicked it and read it. It was a good review. So I'm looking at the book. I discovered that there's like 61 reviews in India for A Scholar's Wish on Amazon. And I'm thinking, why aren't these combined with the main listing on the US server? So then I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is what happened. So then I Google how many different Amazon websites are there? There's one for the UK, there's one for, I didn't check every country, but there's one for Canada, there's one for India, and there's one for Germany. There's probably one for more, but that's at least 5 different Amazon sites. I went to each one of them and found that A Scholar's Wish is listed. One of them, like Canada, has like 20 reviews, maybe. I think Germany's got 40 reviews. The UK one has like 50. So I'm like, so then I started researching on the Reddit groups. That's what's happening to my reviews. They weren't being deleted. They were being recataloged. They were being moved to the appropriate like versions of Amazon based off where the reviewer was. And so not only did I not lose reviews, I discovered that I have way more reviews than I actually thought that I did. I have like over 250 reviews, which, if you think about how many books I have like either sold or distributed, which is now over 1,100, I have like 250 reviews. That review percentage is about 20%, meaning 20% of the books that I have, quote, distributed, given away, or sold, 20% of the people actually bother to write a review. I think that's pretty good, actually. So I wanted to share that with you. If you are an author and you've seen reviews like disappear, check the other Amazon country sites. I bet you will find the reviews have moved over there. Okay. We are now going to read. Actually, I'm going to do some improv here. So let me put this on pause so I can start the music, and then we'll come right back. Welcome to the Crimson Ava Show, starring Crimson Jack Acorn III and Ava Honeysuckle. Today, we find that Crimson Jack Acorn III is in Briar Woods, and he encounters Karaan Oops, a fox from London. Well, I see a fox coming down the road here. He's dressed like a detective, like some Sherlock Holmes character. Who are you there, sir? My name is Karaan Oops. What did you say your name was? Karaan Oops. You, sir, it's not Sean Connery. No, it's Karaan Oops. Do you have marbles in your mouth? No marbles in my mouth. Why would you insult my mouth like this? It sounds like you have marbles in your mouth, but never mind. What are you doing here in Briar Woods? I am investigating a crime. What kind of crime? I think you know what kind of crime. I have no idea what kind of crime you're talking about. Who did this crime? Let me check my notes. It says right here that there was a burglary, and actually not a burglary, that would be incorrect, in the city of Purbershet. Wait a minute, did you say this is a children's show? You can't say that word. What word did I say? I said city of Purbershet. Do you mean city? That's exactly what I said. I said city. No, that's not what you said. You said something completely different. I don't understand what you think you heard. I said the city of Purbershet. It's in the jungles of Zanzibar. I think you need to go back to pronunciation school. Never mind that. I'm looking for Crimson Jack Acorn III. Do you know him? Nope, never heard of him. What do you want him for? Well, he, according to my notes here, released a very evil person into the world who's going to kill him. Nope, never heard of him. And don't know this city called Percocet either. So, good day, sir. What was your name again, by the way? Do you have a badge? My name was Karaan Hoops. Here's my badge. Your name is Karen Hoops. No, it's not. It's Karaan. It's spelled Karen. No, it's Karaan. There's two A's there. Are you telling me your last name is Oops? My last name is Oops. The H is silent. It's spelled H-O-O-P-S. Pronounced Oops. Now, never mind that. We're looking for Crimson Jack Acorn III. He has violated a very important rule. He has tomb raided. I don't think he did. I think he... Well, first of all, I don't know him. Are you sure you don't know him? You seem to know an awful lot about him. Well, I mean, he is quite infamous and also incredibly good-looking. How do you know he's good-looking? Well, I mean, I've been told that's... The ladies, actually. I can't ever seem to get a date because he's always got all of them, including that Ava Honeysuckle and Miss Cassidy Vance. They are simply in love with him. I'm sure of it. You seem to know a lot of things that you're sure of. Well, of course, Crimson Jack Acorn. I mean, I know things. What is your name so I can put it into my notes? Well, it's funny you ask. My name is Dmitry Gorbachev. Spelled D-I-M, put me in jail immediately. Haha, put that right down there. And I also live right over there. And I carry a sack of illegal hot nickels. No license whatsoever, and also stolen. Put that in your notes as well. Stolen nickels. You sure these nickels did not come from Percocet, the shitty? Oh, really? Please, this is a children's show. I said stop saying that. You find it troublesome when I say the name shitty. I don't understand. I live in the woods. I don't live in a shitty. Oh, are you mocking me? Because you think that Scotchmen have mouths full of marbles. Oh, goodness. Ava, I think I understand now what it's like dealing with me. I think I'm going to have to go interview this Miss Ava Honeysuckle on where will she live? Does she live in the city? Enough with the cities already. Look, her and Miss Cassidy Vance are going to be right past that bush over there. Go down 2 streets. Oh, we don't have streets in the woods here. We have, I guess, trails is what we have. Past that, my bush over there, where Dmitry Gorbachev lives with the legal sack of hot nickels. Put that in your notes there. And you'll find them. I'm sure they'll tell you all about Crimson Jack Acorn III. And remember, I'm Dmitry Gorbachev. All right, very good. I've got to go. Toodaloo. That is a strange one. Seems to know an awful lot about Crimson Jack Acorn III. And for someone who's got a name that's Russian, Dmitry Gorbachev, I don't think he's Dmitry. But I'm going to make certain that I put in my notes that he does not like the name shitty. Well, folks, find out next week whether or not Karaan Oops can find out whether or not Dmitry is actually Gorbachev or whether Gorbachev is actually Dmitry and whether or not this sack of hot nickels actually is illegal. Stay tuned. Well, thank you for listening to Crimson and Ava Show. I have a lot of fun doing both of those voices. And for those listening, I do not do punch-ins. I literally just go back and forth with the voices. As you can tell, sometimes I'm very good at the transitions. Sometimes I'm not. That is my attempt at doing Sean Connery. So I am now doing a Russian Dmitry Gorbachev. I've got, of course, Crimson Jack Acorn III. Now we've got a Scottish detective named Karaan Hoops. Oops. So it's spelled Karaan. And the last name is Hoops, Hoops, but it's pronounced Oops. So it's, kind of a spoof on Karen's, the Karen videos. But he pronounces it Karaan. Oops. Let me see if I can put my marbles in. It's Karaan from the city of London. I have to work on that. There seems to be no significant troubles, Miss Moneypenny. Anyways, I was going to read part of my short story, but I'm going to call it here. This is 35 minutes in. This is a good return podcast level. Next time, I think I might read Mad as a Hornet, a teaser chapter or two. But until next time, stay curious.
Thanks for listening to Trash Panda Publishing Podcast. And like all raccoons, stay curious.
I'm still trying to find the city here. Will you get out of here already with the city? This podcast is over. Miss Honeysuckle is not looking for you, and she's not going to help you. I didn't ask your opinion here. This is simply a place for me to find Crimson Jack Acorn. I believe he's the criminal. He is not the criminal. And I'm going to get Dmitry Gorovich to hit you with a sack of hot nickels. I don't think you're going to do that.